Well, there's good.
And then there's bad.
This is, I'm a little worried about what we may find with this, because this is one of those weird strikes that hit the wheel.
Yeah.
And
we might find a couple issues. The suspension might be damaged, the shock's leaning back, and it's got a little bit of odd camber / toe.
yeah, there are some issues on it. We've got, the fender's really cacked out on that side over there, on toward the back of the fender.
Something almost can opened it.
Yeah, I mean, they got, whoever this got hit with got real lucky that they were able to turn out of whatever the problem was. The wheels got damaged on it, the cap's missing. We don't even know where we would get a cap for this wheel. And the owner luckily wants to go in and replace all the wheels and tires on it. Tires on this car totally.
I can see the cords through the dry rot in the back.
I'd be willing to bet that tire used to be up there or over here.
And all the wheels have curb damage and just
They're
little nicks.
pretty gnarly. We'll probably put them on Logan's car.
They're a good burner set of wheels.
This is training wheels for Logan.
Training wheels, yeah. There you go. But also we got stuff like the little rust.
I don't know that that's my problem. I might let my friend Perry Ford over in Atlanta take care of that
All
for
the
me.
wrinkles.
There's some wrinkles. We're going to know more about that once we pull the fender off. And that's what we're talking about today, folks. We're going to be taking the fender off the front of this thing, showing you how to remove a fender from a 67, 68 Mustang. And then next week, we're going to come back in with a brand new fender from the guys at National Parts Depot to just replace this one so that he can go and get the car painted when we get all the other little things we're trying to get done for him finished. And there's a lot of little things.
A lot.
All right, let's go grab some tools.
Cool.
All right, so one of the first things you're going to have to do is to take the bumper off, because everything on the fenders attaches to the bumper. You've got 4 bolts on the front and 2 on the sides that go through the actual fender itself. Those you're going to have to remove from inside of the fender, and we'll show you that in just a second. All right, so the last 2 bolts on the bumper are here. On the back side, there's a little L bracket, and I'm trying to get this one to come loose. The biggest problem you're going to have is once these come loose, if they will come loose, the bumper is going to be very mobile. The other thing you have to worry about is it possibly damaging the fender with the L bracket. Now you might think because there's a bolt on the bottom side of the fender that you'd be able to use that one and take it out, but you can't get to that bolt with the bumper on. And boy, are these rusty. Now off camera, I'm going to have Cam go in and actually put a bolt in this bracket here so that the bumper doesn't fall off when we take the other side loose, because it will fall off. All right, now what happens is a lot of times when you take these bumpers, the side pieces off, if you've got everything else loose on the front end, these bumpers will actually tend to want to kick out on the side a little bit. You can see what I'm showing you, how wide the gap is on this passenger side of the bumper. So all we got to do now, theoretically, is to go in and not hit any paint on the way out. When I'm putting this bumper back on next week, you'll see that I'm going to do a lot of different things that we're not necessarily going to do right now. So I'm going to put my hand back behind the bumper. Cam's going to do the same thing on his side. He's going to take the bolt loose because we put a bolt in over there to hold the bumper in place. And then we're just going to walk it out, theoretically.
I just tightened it. Fairly sure.
The mechanic just tightened the bolt that he's trying to
upside down, leave me alone.
You do a lot of light drinking last night?
Light.
Are we ready?
Ready.
Yeah. Just going to take it and set it on the mat. You always want to have blankets and stuff around whenever you're doing this kind of work to put these things on. You notice we do have fender covers on this car. We've taken a lot of grief in the past. And no, Cam didn't wear safety glasses. Those are his eyeballs. If he wants to be stupid, and I'll probably end up being stupid
My
too.
body, my choice.
We're going to end up replacing the lower trim pieces on this car because these are pretty tatty. They're old. They've been on there a good while. They're not real sharp looking. But you have to take these off in order to get the fender off, and these are really not very well put on. I'm surprised it didn't come off when somebody was driving this car in the recent past. So we're going to get brand new clips, and we'll show you how to put these back on in a video as well. And these are just going to go away. I hate to throw things away, but I really don't want to keep things anymore. I'm really going to try to stop keeping things. All right, now you got 2 bolts on the underside of these fenders. There's one hidden up inside the fender here, and then there's another one down here closer to the front edge of the fender. And I'm just going to take these out. Somebody's been into this car before because I can see they've used screws and stuff for these pieces here for the trim. These bolts are coming out really nice, so this car's been apart at least once, probably more than once. They are a little bit rusty. These bolts are real bad about rusting out too because of where they're at. Always watch your fender too when you're doing this kind of stuff to make sure that when you let go of something that the fender doesn't cack into the door if you're trying to keep the door nice. That can be an issue when people adjust these things. There's a lot of tension sometimes on these fenders. So just keep that in your mind. Okay, those 2 bolts are out. Now the bottom edge of the fender is loose and we got to go inside the door to pick up the one up here, and then Cam's going to start working on the headlight door on the front. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the inside top bolt out. This bolt controls positioning on the fender at the top. You'll find a lot of similarities in what we're doing with the Ford stuff. We did a Torino front end sheet metal alignment video. You can check that out at the URL below me here. This is real similar but not exactly the same, so we kind of wanted to go through it on a 67 Mustang just to make it easier for everybody. And I'm just going to take this bolt out. Some guys will go in and shim these, but most of the time this really is more for top end adjustment at the cowl than anything else. It's in the bottom of the fender. Cam, you're up!
All right, on today's episode of Doing Something Before Doing Something Else, I'm going to take the grille and the headlight out so we can take the fender off. So there's normally a couple bolts on the 67 front end, but right now the grille is only held in by these 2 1/2 inches. It's supposed to be held in by a bunch of trim screws around, but this car's been gone through, so it just makes it lightweight. Less fasteners than engineers designed it with, so it's obviously better. Alright, take the hood latch bracket off, and now we can slide the grille up. Okay, now there are 2 little 3/8 nuts on the bottom of this little center panel. There is one here as well. There's supposed to be one in this corner, but it is missing. Both of them are on this side, but we're not going to remove this side because we're not changing that fender right now. Hopefully these 2 don't break. They are kind of crusty. All right, that's the one that seems to be moving. All right, I'm gonna thread these nuts back onto these studs because it's a self-tapping like sheet metal nut. It's not something you can find locally. All right. Then there's the one bolt holding that in.
All right, so we got this trim piece off. I'm going to try to retain this because I'm not sure that my buddy's got that piece. We may have to get that from National Parts Depot as well. Now we need a Phillips head screwdriver to take the trim piece off. This is probably one of the most complicated grills that Ford ever did.
Best looking one though.
It is the best looking grill. It really is a nice front end on these cars. I will let you continue.
Thank you.
Sorry the expert had to jump in for a minute. I don't remember how to do these either.
I'd keep the seat warm. Put my hat back on so my hair's not going crazy. All right, so I'm going to go ahead with pulling the headlight trim ring out. Now, technically, in our case, we don't have to do this because I can reach the headlights because this has some HIDs in it. I can reach the plug to disconnect them. But unless you have some really tiny gypsy hands, you will not be able to fit them back there to get it with a stock plug. So you have to take the headlights out. So So there are 3 Phillips head screws for the trim ring, and it feels like this is the wrong kind of screw because it is not threading. So I'm just going to use this little plastic pry bar to put some outward pressure, hopefully get this thing to thread a little bit. There it comes. All right. Yeah. So this is definitely the wrong screw. These should be about 3/4 to an inch long, and that's teeny. All right. Let's gently pry this ring out. It should just about fall out. If you have fingernails, you can probably get it. I don't, so. All right. Okay, now this is typical Ford trim ring. There are 3 screws. You do not have to take them all the way out, only loosen them. And then rotate the trim ring around the headlight. It's just a couple turns on each. Now normally you don't have to take the screws out, but somebody put the wrong screws in this one, so. Because you know, you don't have the right screw, a self-tapper is always the right option. Oh, God. Oh, this one's got an even bigger head on it. That's cool. Okay. Right, and that top screw should work. And nope. All right, so if you have to do this, just hold your headlight because it will fall flat out on the floor. These aren't normal 7-inch round is not expensive to replace, but it's not fun either. All right, so this is an HID. This is not a factory plug. So there are 2 weather packs for this one. I'm being very careful not to touch the conductors. And looks like somebody didn't hook up the turn signals either. That's cool. Who needs those? Let's put a BMW badge on it. Now, it should be good to go ahead and take this front bolt out. All right, so I've taken the HID box off to gain access to the inner fender bracket. It's missing one of the bolts because the HID box is in the way, and instead of putting those in a better location, they just left the fender bolt out. That's what we do.
You think that you got all of them undone. This is why I almost always want to just go ahead and take the whole dang front end apart, because you actually have bolts in the valence that bolt to the headlight bucket on the car, or as professionals call it sometimes, a door. It's up to you. Bucket, door, this thingy thing right here, you can't take it all off until you take these bolts out. So, all right. Almost every bolt on the front of these cars is anything between a 3/8 and a 1/2 inch. Sometimes Ford will run a 5" eighths or a 9/16 in the fenders and all. The truck line, almost everything is 9/16, but on the Mustang, it's anywhere between a 1/2 inch and a 3/8. Now, when I take this one off, I do almost just about as good to take the whole valence apart because it's going to hang this in the wind. But I'm going to take that one out because that will loosen this up and cause this to be mobile enough so that we can go in and take everything else out. This is a 3/8. This is the one that, so to speak, counts in this because this is the one that actually holds the valence to the headlight bucket, and it is just barely in there. This bolt's actually not long enough. This needs to be a longer bolt. I always go back in with AMK fastener kits for the front end on these cars, or any of the places that bolts are required. If you don't keep all the original bolts and reuse them, a lot of times people have gone in and just trashed the original bolt kits on them. The clips are all messed up. Better to spend the money with AMK, get all brand new bolts. It makes putting things back together so much easier. Theoretically, this is the closing moments of the fender coming off. I was getting a little worried.
Looks like those haven't come out in a while.
Yeah, these may have been in here longer. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to put my thigh up against the fender to keep it from rocking out so we don't damage other paint. That one's been out. That one's been out. Somebody put a
That's the wrong bolt.
GM fender bolt in here.
There's been a couple of those bolts in here.
Great. Now you can see this, the fender shifted in because I'm leaning on it. I'm gonna set that down right there. It's got rubber on it so it's not going to scratch any paint.
All right, now I've got my fingers between the valence and the bumper guard, making sure we don't have any contact. That's just sockets. Just 1 second, because that wire's getting tight. That's got to be terminated in there.
Somebody terminated a wire inside the fender. Ford did not do that factory.
Yeah, it's like ground wire.
Yikes.
You know, I mean,
I got my pocket knife, but I'm not going to let you go in my pocket to get it. Let's put it that way.
make it go away with
Make it go away with it, because I have a feeling that's not a factory. That's not a factory termination anyway. All the headlight stuff terminated on the radiator core support.
hot lock, so I can't unplug that. Actually, hold on. No, that won't help. Ugh, why do they do this crap? What the not even terminated in there. Okay, we're good.
Okay, we're good now?
Yes. Clear.
All right, we're clear. Fender's off.
What did they do? All right, so this is a really good case of what not to do on how to add.
They scotch locked in a wet area.
Yes, and unheat shrunk. All I can think of is the meme. Look at the murdered my boy. This is horrible. Whoever did this should never touch a car again. They should be delegated to public transport only.
At least it wasn't the owner.
Yes.
He didn't do any of that.
Yeah. Like the kit itself doesn't look like a bad kit, but that's terrible.
That's we'll fix that.
Yes.
I mean, we'll take care of that.
Yeah.
So that'll be.
I won't let that go.
No, we can't. It's just that's something we can't let go. All right, well, fender is off, and things aren't as bad body-wise underneath here as we thought they would be.
Yeah, there's definitely some damage. This is really bad.
Yeah, I'm going to have to work this area. This is actually slightly pinched, but the only reason I would work this area in any of these cases is because of fender fit with the new fender going on next week.
If this isn't flat, you're going to fight the fender the whole
it'll be fighting the whole way, and this really bowed up right through here. So that's going to require us to do a little bit of work.
And also, I can imagine you probably might pick up a little rattle out of that if it starts shaking.
Yeah, well, the bigger problem would be a rattle possibly from your clip here. I don't think it's actually, it is busted.
It's
Never
broken.
mind, it's busted loose. Y'all have to weld that up.
And it's starting to break here as well.
There's a couple places.
That's actually from the clip being slammed into it and cutting through.
Gotta love it. There's some mismatched bolts, things that aren't supposed to be. Somebody actually used GM fasteners in a couple places. We figured out the problem with the shock absorber is actually because the spring purchase slap wore out in it. Probably what I would recommend to Kylie is to go in and put a complete redo the front end on it, because your bumper's missing. It's chewing up the inside edge of the tires, which tells me that your caster's all wrong.
I wonder if the bumper's missing because the tire hit it.
It could be because I think these are a little wider than they
Yeah.
probably should be, and the car's been lowered out a little bit. I think I would probably leave the springs on. I like the stance on the
Yeah,
car.
no, the stance in general is fine, and it looks like it's been recently gone through. It doesn't look like the original springs.
I'm worried about that ball joint. I'm kind of
Yeah.
curious about that.
I mean, bushings in general on that, I would check over pretty good since it took a hit.
I really think that's probably just
Yeah.
the spring perch was worn out. Well, you know what we could do with those is get a set of Open Tracker Racing
Mm-hmm.
roller spring perches. I just like the way those operate. Even if we went back in with a set of gas shocks on it, that would make for a nicer handling car for sure. And then maybe just go ahead and have him get the idler arm as well.
Let's see if it's had the Shelby drop or Ackerman drop done to it.
Yeah, that's something we'll look at a little later on. But that's the end of our scintillating episode this week, folks. Go out and subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribing to us yet, why not? Why not? Because it would allow us to get with our big sheet of OSB that's Paul's wall with a little bitty Paul's wall that's sitting over in Studio A. We would put the plaque, the cool plaque that we've been slaving for over 10 years in the middle of that little bitty piece of plywood.
Dream
Look
come
at
true.
It would be a dream, honestly, it would be a dream come true. And it would also help you because you would get notifications somewhere in the internet. We don't know, somewhere in YouTube. They don't send out emails anymore. They don't like it well enough for that.
Only old people use email now.
Most of the people that watch this show are over 40 and male. We're
No.
like 98% male, and most of our guys are 40 and above.
No comment.
You're just a little wet behind the ears baby with all this.
Pretty
stuff.
much. I'm used to it in this.
You ain't been here long enough.
I get it here. I get it at my normal job.
Yeah, I'm glad I got you though. Because us old guys getting down on the floor is kind of a back pain. Anyway, you derail me all the time. Anyway, what I want to talk to you about next is our Patreon group. It's a really great group. We got a bunch of cool people in there. You got a list coming up beside me, either here or here. Not sure where it's going to be. Maybe right between Cam and me. I don't know. But those are the people who have put the money where the mouth is. They're actually financially supporting the channel. It helps us pay Andrew, poor Andrew,
Who
eats-
never shows up to work on time.
In any case, it helps us pay Andrew so he can get the rehab he needs in order to do his job and maybe one day,
Be a functioning member of society.
for only 65 cents a day,
You can adopt
you
this
can
poor
adopt
white
this
boy.
We've off the rails, but I don't care anymore. So anyway, that's basically what the Patreon account goes to. Is we put that toward our guys that work here. It helps us pay them to come in here. The younger guys, they don't get paid yet. They're learning how to do the job. Cam obviously already knows how to do the job. He's been doing it a long time. But it does go toward giving us a little something to give to them. So if you want to support us on a monthly level, we got a couple of different levels. You can go check those out over on the Patreon account itself. If you want to help out, that's great. And if not, I completely understand. It doesn't affect how we do our show at all. The guys who are on Patreon, we do videos for those guys monthly. Little tech tips and tricks, nothing really big, but it's kind of cool to be able to have that as their own little thing for, like I said, putting their money where the mouth is. Finally, folks, do me a favor. Be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time on
Auto Resto Mod.
Won't you please help? Andrew's drinking.
For 65 cents a day, you can adopt this poor Aconian child.
He's an Italian. He can help with this poor Italian child.
He needs a hiss of spaghetti.
God, we're going to get canceled. That's okay, though. We got another place we can go. Andrew's much better at this tonight. He's also much better at drinking, apparently. He just can't show up on time. I don't know why. He's like really film people. He's like,
Yeah.
who's it, Brad Pitt or somebody? Show up when they want. I don't even know if Brad Pitt does it. I shouldn't even say that, but that's the way it happens. We're leaving now. We're gonna roll this. You go that way.